Welcome back, everybody. A look at health with Dr. Paul Artiero.
Oh,
Hey, guys, pretty good, right?
felt like I was back in Italia.
Italia.
Nice.
Dr. Paul Artiero. That's the way we say it over here, right?
That's fine.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome back, Paul. Hey, weather's changing. People are starting to go outside, right?
Yeah, a little
I
bit more.
heard an absolutely interesting story this morning about uphill skiing, new sport.
Fascinating.
And the guy who was describing it was talking about the benefits of exercising outside and how magnificent it was to be uphill skiing at 6 in the morning. Now, maybe something's wrong with this guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you feel very strongly about exercise, and you feel very strongly about being outside.
I do.
Okay,
yeah.
so talk to me about this.
Absolutely, let's do it. You know, as we woke up this morning, of course, and the snow was coming down, it's 30 degrees, and we're like, man, we're getting back into the winter mode. But, you know, being outside does something to us. And it's not just kind of this subjective feeling, it's actually real. And so we know from scientific research that when people are outside in what we call the naturalistic environment of being outside in nature, our brain chemistry changes. So we have less of the release of the stress hormone cortisol. So cortisol levels drop when we're outside. For people that are exercising outside versus inside, we know that they burn more calories. So they're more metabolically active when they're outside exercising. Our stride length gets longer. So people seem to be more relaxed and in nature when they're outside, obviously. But so there's some real changes that take place, but we also know that cognitively, people's brains change a little bit. We do better in cognitive tests when we've been outside moving and exercising. We know that we report greater feelings of vitality and vigor, and we feel happier. Our mood actually changes when we're doing the same amount of activity and physical movement outside versus inside. So these are real changes. So I'm from a scientific standpoint, proponent of exercising as much as possible in this naturalistic environment. It just releases these endorphins, it releases these brain chemicals that are favorable to putting us in a good mood.
You know what, Paul, I find that anytime I can be outside, now yesterday we had a beautiful day, right? I can't even be inside. So I'm outside and I'm walking around, I'm running around outside. Exercising outside always makes me feel invigorated. Exercise inside makes me tired. Is there anything to that?
Well, no, I think there is, yeah. So for one thing, you nailed it. I think outside we have that oxygen. You know, we have right. We just have that clean, crisp air that we're able to breathe in. And again, when we're inside, as much as we try to deal with healthy quality air, it's still being filtered, it's still being circulated through vents. You know, there's still some component of that artificialness of the air because of, you know, the way it's reaching our lungs. So there may be some real, you know, health benefit. Again, if the exercise is out in a, you know, polluted, heavy traffic area, probably not ideal.
Yeah, right.
So,
sure.
But if it's exercising out in nature, in the woods, it's really beneficial. So there's one other thing, Jesse, that I think is important about helping people, if they're going to start exercising now, get outside and do it versus inside, is that people stick with it. It's got greater staying power.
Oh, I bet.
So your ability to stick with the exercise is enhanced when you're doing it outside versus inside. And that's important for people to stay with it. And that, you know, there's something really invigorating, like you said, of being outside and trying something new. You know, indoors, what are your options? Well, it's a treadmill, it's a bicycle, right, a rowing machine, an elliptical. When you get outside, I mean, the options are endless. And that alone triggers creativity and the newness factor. So there's tons of benefit.
You know, I always find if I exercise outside, my mind opens up, and that when I go back to the task at hand, you know, I usually find if I'm inside and I'm just getting worn down about something, I just go out for a walk.
Good.
You know, I just get that walk, get that blood going, and I come back and I've got a renewed interest in what I'm doing. I feel more refreshed.
Right.
And I don't get that if I just go into the room and just, you know, do some exercises. I just don't.
Listen, I'm going to equate you at the same level as the great thinkers of humankind. Think about
Have you been outside too much?
Jesse, but if you go back in history, look at the greatest thinkers of humankind. We got Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. We've got Emerson, Thoreau, and almost every example, not everyone, but almost, these great thinkers did their best thought when they were outside in a naturalistic environment.
Yeah,
I mean, they talk about it.
Yeah, they. I guess they do. I'm not exactly sure where you're headed with that one.
Well,
but one last thing. If you're outside exercising, do you stand a greater risk of getting sick because of the weather? Cloudy, cold, rainy.
Yeah, that's what we would call an old wives' tale.
Oh.
Because germs don't survive real well outside, especially in the cold environment. Most of them harbor and fester in a warmer environment is inside. So when we get sick during the winter months, as we all recall and know, and that the winter months sickness is due to the germs that are festering inside when we're coming into contact. Get outside, even in the cold weather, because that's going to be a place where you're going to have less opportunity. Now, what happens is in the real cold weather, you might have a increased susceptibility to what we call an opportunistic infection, so that if your immune system is already a little bit low, and then you go out into this cold, frigid air, that sometimes can, you won't catch anything outside, but you'll weaken your immune system, or you'll challenge it a little bit more, so that when you do come inside where all the bugs are, your likelihood of getting sick might be a little bit higher. But in and of itself outside, absolutely not. That's the best place to be. All
right, the message out there, get outside, walk around, jump in place, do whatever you got to do. But get outside and breathe that sweet air and get those endorphins going. I love that. You're right about that.
Good advice.
Well, thanks for coming in, Paul. We'll see you next week.
Same.
See this interview again. Head to our website, looktvonline.com.